What are we calling it?
Return of serve before you go in court. You need to listen to this.
We're live.
We're live. Rupert's got a face full of chicken korma.
It's not actually. It's
What is it?
antipasti, mate.
What antipasti? What do tennis players eat?
Raspberries.
Raspberries and antipasti.
Antipasti with the quiche in the oven.
Does that help your hot dog?
Don't need help. You're born with it.
You're born.
I try and teach it, but you're born with it, aren't you?
You're either born with it. I don't know. People don't need to watch this, do they? You're either born with it, or you may as well just stay at home and watch EastEnders.
You're born with it, or you learn it at Kitbag. Really, there are two options.
Excellent, good stuff. So tonight, if you've been watching us on Facebook, you can just about see the head of Ben, who's the head tennis coach. There he is, head and face.
Boss man.
The lockdown haircut.
Thanks. Talk systems go.
So Ben's the head coach at our local tennis club where my boys play tennis, Elliswick. So he's inspired them to play more tennis and he's dumped them on Rupert to babysit them.
Sad. It's terrible.
They used to get some proper tennis lessons, but they gave that up when they met Rupert.
I can log off now, mate. I've been on court since 9.
How's it going? So you guys are just...
Do the people need it? Do the people want to hear this?
You guys, you must be delirious at the moment because you're back at work. It must be such an exciting...
He's done 3 hours and he's moaning, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 hours back to back. 3 hours. Jeez.
Is that two less than an hour break in between?
Yeah, 3 hours in 4 hour block.
Yeah. Right. Excellent. So listen, tonight, if you're watching live on Facebook, you are very lucky because the next time you go back on court, your return of service is going to be the best in the business, isn't it, Rupert?
We like to think so.
I think so. So keep watching for some top 3 tips. Well, the top 3 tips on how to execute your return of serve like Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal.
Or Murray or
Djokovic or Murray.
Murray or Djokovic.
Murray or Djokovic. Who have we got? Who are we analysing tonight, Rupert?
Murray and Djokovic, funny enough.
Murray and Djokovic.
Got those two. Probably
no Federer.
No Federer. No Federer. Yeah, Murray and Djokovic probably 2 of the best returners of recent times.
What makes a good return of serve? Clearly getting the ball in the court and getting the opponent under pressure, but what else?
Yeah, I think your job is to return the service to get the ball back in play, isn't it? You know, so it doesn't matter how great the shot looks if it goes out every time. But again, it's that balance of sort of consistency and effectiveness. You know, it's no good being super effective and missing every time, but it's no good hitting a short lofted ball back every time. If they
should you try and dominate and take control? Because ultimately it's the server that's got control of the point because the ball's in their hand and they're deciding where the ball goes. So should you try and take control back of the point on the return of serve or literally just get the ball back in?
Yeah, I think depending on who you're playing, definitely on second serves. Obviously, the advantage you could say changes to the returner, you know, based on who's serving and who's returning. Yeah, of course, you should definitely try and get on top of their second serve. That's how you break serve, you know. But yeah, first serves, I like to think, you know, the goal is get the ball back in play, make them play, you know, just take away those cheap points because what you don't want to be doing is giving them a lot of cheap points because that's only going to build their confidence. And as we know with tennis, you know, confidence is key. And if someone, you know, gets that confidence, they're only going to play better and better. It'll be harder and harder for you to sort of rectify.
So Rupert, when you're coaching people and you're coaching the return of serve, do you have a target that people are trying to return the ball into when they're returning, or it's literally dependent upon the level of their expertise?
Again, it depends on who you're coaching and what capacity you're coaching them in. If they play competitive tennis, or if they're playing socially, or you know what singles or doubles. But obviously doubles, you know, cross court away from the player at the net. It is key, really. Singles, you know, I like to go deep down the middle of the court because it gives you the margins. You know, you're not going to miss wide if you're aiming down the middle.
Yeah.
Next, you know, pretty much the lowest point, sort of middle cross court. So, and you know, you're giving the server less angles off their second shot. So, I think we've spoken about. I can't remember. I think it's on our Instagram page. I did a video. Don't even know if it's up yet, actually, on sort of first serves and where to aim, and this sort of misconception people have that serving out wide is always the best option. in doubles. But if you think about it, actually sort of takes your player out of the equation, you know. And it's similar with the returns. If you return down the centre, people would go, why would you hit the ball down the middle? But actually, you know, you're cutting the angles down, you're taking angles away from the server, you know. So
I guess in terms of the court dimensions, also it reduces the time between you hitting the ball and them receiving the ball. So you're making their reaction off their serve being much more responsive. So
yeah, correct.
So less time.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of servers, especially at club level, you know, sort of beginner, intermediate, and your team players who serve but don't recover, or don't recover in general. You know, recovery is such a neglected part of the game, and the footwork in general, as we keep saying. But definitely on the serve, you know, the amount of players you see, you know, put down a huge first serve, but that's it. You know, they're not ready they're not anticipating the ball to come back. You know, and against a fast serve, if you connect with it right, it's quite easy to actually hit that ball back at pace quite deep. You know, so actually you can almost turn the point around just by blocking it back sometimes if that server isn't, you know, preparing themselves sort of suitably after the serve. So yeah, definitely you can turn things around.
Excellent. Good. So we're going to look at some big boys, aren't we?
We're going to look at Andy to start with.
Andy Muzzer.
He did a Instagram live with Kyrgios at the weekend. Did you see it?
No. What were they talking about?
I was going to try and hijack it with our kit bag, try and get a shout out, but I was working. I was on court. I don't know what they spoke about. Actually, I haven't watched it. So, yeah. Anyway, that's that. That was a good story, wasn't it, for the people on a Monday night?
You have to tell us what it's all about on Friday. Go and do some research.
I will. Let's have a look at this. Are we sharing?
They're sharing.
Here we go. I mean, firstly, look at the footwork. Huge split step. And yes, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to give you my three top tips yet, but I mean, I think for most people on the return, they're quite obvious. I think as tennis players, there are some really obvious fundamental things you have to do, and there are some definite things we want to try and avoid. The main thing for me is judging the pace of the serve. Now, this is obviously something, again, people go, yeah, but how do you know how fast they're going to serve? You need to start using the tools you have as a tennis player. So if you're playing a match against another player, when you're warming up against them, gauge how hard they serve, you know, engage where they hit their serves most of the time. Especially after their first, you know, few service games, or even first service game, you'll get an idea of what sort of pace they serve at. And then it's about matching your racket speed to the ball speed. So we're trying to basically make them match so that you're able to, we don't want to click below, we don't want to do that. So that you're able to get the ball back consistently. You know, so if it's a fast serve, we want to return with a slow racket. If it's a slow serve, we want to return with a fast racket. If it's a medium pace serve, medium pace racket. Now, it does get a bit more technical than that. Obviously, if it's a fast serve, you know, we've got to make technical changes. If you've got this huge take back on a fast serve, by the time you've taken the racket back, the ball's gone whizzing past you. So obviously we have to make adaptations to our take back with a more sort of stunted take back. Like we said, because first of all, we don't have time. And secondly, you know, we don't want the power. The only reason we do that big take back is to generate racket speed. You don't want to react to power with power. So there are a few changes there. I'm actually going to show you Djokovic as well while we're there. Bear with me. Oh, it's all going wrong. Okay, so here we have possibly the best returner in current times. I mean, his stats are crazy. So Djokovic is, can you see that, Steve?
Yeah.
He is, because he manages to not only be consistent on the return, but the quality of the shot he returns with is it's incredible.
I know this is a very healthcare practitioner thing to say, but his posture is much, much better than a lot of tennis players. If you watch him,
yeah,
look at his back, look at the propulsion from the ground.
Yeah,
he looks more together. If you look at Murray, it's a bit disjointed which is why I'm surprised that he does return the ball so well. But I think that's where possibly some of his injuries come from with regards to the compensations that he has going on with his body to achieve those forces. But I mean, he's much more together, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he does. He does move well. You can see the body working pretty much. I was like a textbook example in most cases. Yeah. Even where most players would be under pressure and out of position, Djokovic manages to move in a way and quickly enough to get himself in a very poised. I mean, they're just looks effortless, you know.
Yeah.
Where you see, you know, most players at club level trying to take a high backhand return, and it doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah.
So there's an example of the shorter take back. So you watch the racket's just coming out to the side.
Yeah.
He's not going back at all, but he's still turning his body to the sides. He's still getting that set up with the shoulders. Yeah, no, it is good to watch Djokovic returning. He's very, very, very composed, I think is the word. You know, because a lot of players, even at the top level, look frantic on return.
Yeah.
Because of the pace, the pace of the serves they're dealing with, right? But he just seems to. He almost makes it look like he has more time than he does.
I'm surprised you didn't put Federer in this, because he's another one that does fall into that category of composure and togetherness. And
Steve, we've watched him twice a week for the last 8 weeks.
Okay, this is a Federer Support Appreciation Society. Did you not know?
I can't put him on again.
It's good to let a few of the other morsels have their minute of fame on the Perfect Balance Facebook Live, right?
Exactly. This is the only sort of screen time Djokovic is getting. Trust me. But yeah. So
out of interest, when do you think people start preparing for the return of serve? In terms of, because if you look at, it's obviously difficult to see there because you're not seeing what the other player's doing in terms of when the ball's leaving. But when do you think he's starting to prepare for it?
So every player's different in the footwork as well. If you watch Djokovic moves forward and split steps off his 1 foot preparation, some players go in off 2 feet.
Yeah.
But also, if you talk about when they're anticipating where the ball's going, you know, at this level, they're watching the ball toss. They're watching small changes, how much the player's rotating into the setup on the serve, into the trophy position based on where the serve's going to go, things like that. So they're looking for the tiny, small details that to the average, average club player or even, strong sort of competitive player, they just would not know what to look for or when to look for it, if that makes sense, or haven't got the eye for it. So obviously it's a bit of a different ball game to us mere mortals at club level, but yeah, very early on, to give themselves the best chance. And of course, you've got all the skills, based around everything, away from the racket. So coordination, reaction time, all of those things. Obviously, they're training that, in order to get these results on the court. You can't take it for granted. You can't just go out there, get someone to serve 50 balls at you and start hitting returns like this. Sadly, trust me, I've tried. So anyway, there you go.
Excellent. Good. So with the return of serve, obviously, depending on what happens after that, where do you think in terms of your coaching, where do you tell people to move to after that? Do they recover back to the tee, or where should they be moving
as a returner?
Yeah.
So it's dependent on where they hit the ball, because of course you want to try and stay just off centre. But if you hit the return cross court, it depends singles and doubles, of course. But say we're playing singles, if you're returning the ball cross court, you'd say just off centre on the side you returned on. And this is another common thing we see. People forget how the angles work in tennis. So it's all about where the ball's going to be coming from next. You've got to look at where they're going to be hitting the ball from.
Yeah.
The 2 widest points on the tennis court aren't where you think they are. It's all dependent on where the ball's coming from. So, and obviously in doubles you would stay out wider. with your player covering the other side of the net. So, yeah, recovery is an interesting one. It's quite a particular thing based on where they hit the ball, the scenario, and their their plan for that point, what they're trying to do with the ball, really. But yeah, it's definitely a massive part of the return. And like I said earlier, the serve as well, which is neglected by a lot of people. They hit the serve, and that's it. They're just anticipating a shot to come back at some point, but they don't think, what if the best shot possible comes back? So I try and get my clients into the mindset of always anticipate, always tell yourself that ball's coming back, but also always tell yourself that ball's coming back and it's going to be the best shot possible. It's going to come back at your feet like that, in less than a second. Because then they're overtraining themselves mentally, right? They're always on it and they haven't wasted a single calorie doing that. They haven't burnt any energy, but they're alert and they're ready. And if it doesn't come back, it's the best return ever, it doesn't matter. If it does, they're ready and they're ready to anticipate and move to the ball. So,
in terms of training that readiness into people, apart from returning serves, are there other drills that you would recommend to people to? I know when I came on call with you, we did some reaction stuff where I was turning around quickly and you were feeding the ball to me and I had to react for it for volleys. Are there similar drills that you could do with the return of serve?
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of reaction drills you can do, of course. So it's a very, very simple one is practice returning serves. Get whoever serves you to serve from the service line, so you've got that less time, so you're overtraining it. And try and return from close to the service line, try and step in on second serves. There are lots of things you can do in the in that actual situation where you are returning serve. And of course, there are thousands of drills you can do away from the court or away from having a racket and ball, to train that reaction and better it. So yeah, we've got some courses over at the website actually to work on those things. So yep.
Excellent, great. So just to wrap up, Rupert, what would you say your top 3 tips are to improve your return of serve?
My top 3 tips: a good split step at the right time. What is my second? Stop waving your hands. Woody's trying to get involved. The second one is shorten the take back against faster serves. And in general, try and think about the speed of the serve and match that up with the speed of your racket. So, for example, I have a very simple one in my head I try and tell people to use. Just categorize the serve into fast, medium, slow. And this is similar to decision-making in the rally, whether you're going to rally, attack, or defend, or trade, build, finish, whatever, if you want to use technical terms. But try and just break it down into slow, medium, fast. If it's a fast serve, slow racket. If it's a slow serve, fast racket. If it's a medium serve, medium racket. Boom, there you go.
Straight from the horse's mouth. Brilliant.
Oh, and get practicing now. You can, people. Singles only, signy balls, stay safe.
Good stuff. What time does your tennis lesson start tomorrow, Rupert?
8 or 9.
8 o'clock, that is early.
Yeah. Straight through till 8.
That's like a proper day's work, Rupert.
That is a proper day's work.
That's another booking coming in.
It's not like this guy. Literally, it's not a booking, mate. It's his takeaway. 3 hours on court and he's gone for a takeaway. This has been called out live on Facebook. I'm on my raspberries and he's just ordered a Chinese.
He hasn't, has he?
He has.
Oh, dear.
Deary me.
Maybe we shouldn't have mentioned which tennis club he works at.
What, Elliswick? Brilliant. No one's going to be asking for me.
Excellent. Great. Listen, it's been great talking to you, Rupert, and thank you very much for joining us if you caught us on Facebook. Rupert, what's on the doors for Fridays?
Scores on the doors for Friday.
Scores on the doors for Friday.
Oh, what are we working on?
Yeah.
We're actually going to be looking at... Are you ready for this? We're going to be looking at lobs.
The lobs. Oh, fantastic.
So we're going to look at lobs versus passing shots. So we're going to have a look at both, and we're going to look at when and why you would use one over the other. Because obviously, effectively, they both do the same thing. They both get the ball past a player who's at the net, either in a defensive situation or to win the point. So yeah, very excited about that.
So if you guys out on Facebook, out there, I'm talking to you guys, if you're going to be playing tennis on Saturday and Sunday over the weekend, then you need to tune in Friday night to hear what Rupert's got to say about kitbag coaching and the lob. So if you've got any questions, line them up, ready to go on Friday night. What time are you on Friday night? 7?
8. We're always 8.
Yeah, it's always about 8. Takes us that long to get it sorted out.
8:26.
8:26.
Yeah. Oh, Ian Sheridan's the winner of our T-shirt from last week.
Fantastic! Well, congratulations, Ian. That's fantastic.
Very good.
Have we got another prize for this week?
Yes, another T-shirt.
Another T-shirt. Excellent.
Got the whole
county.
Last week,
the whole of Hertfordshire wearing kickbag tennis T-shirts.
Very good.
Excellent. Listen, it's been great speaking to you, and good night from me.
Good night.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.